Jamba Jim Den Den the Shen Shaman Rajo, Yanda Banzo Biasa Yeri Bada Shazundem, the Varishavan Jidin Jamba Jivan Lana Mevan Hadam Ben on Jedam Sanjay Jundem, Benjawa Shaja Tubala Chasen, Children Jaja, the Jim Den Den the Shen Shaman Rajo Yanda, Zobe Sanjay Bada Shazundem, the Variship. Jidin Jamba Jivan Dem, Kalo Java Lana, Menam Jedamba Sanjay Jundem, Benjawa Shaja Tubala Chasen, Children Jaja, the Ma Jundem Den the Shen Shaman Rajo Yanda. Zobe Sanjay Bada Shazundem, the Variship. Jidin Jamba Jivan Dem, Kalo Java Lana, Menam Jedamba Sanjay Jundem, Benjawa Shaja Tubala Chasen, Children Jaja. Kanze Zowa Chatamase, Sergeant and Commander. Manage then on Georgia, the Zekava Jama. Nanda Gunga Chota Sosa, Yishija to Sejan. Chavan Jedensuna, Bango Bochoni Jama Charles. Senjon de Machimenda Vision, Sandon Rawa Jama Charles. The regional Zeva Suma Jama Jama Charles. Gumbo to Jichet and Matam Jama, Solomon Yede. The Shen La Jha, the Lord Taben, the Judge of Gavanian on the Dutch. Chidder, the Nomacho, was in your Chala Charles and Trending Travel. Lavatama, Rabdu Ne, Shingatama, the Gideon Charles. The Vajia Majajin gave up person so much. Rangi Simne, the Tender Sanjay Temba, Parmara Raymond. You must have what you were the Melon Lot of Genda, the Judge and the Rita. Solomon the Atom Jessica, you come Gada Nada, Shiva Love to be Siverson and Rohundra.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of things to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When as supreme among humans you are born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides and said, I am supreme in this world. To you who were wise then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom of motion like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the teacher having whole understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to dustness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that Dharma which pacifies I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy few qualified in realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you the sublime community and in virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. star, mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the whole faults, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jolon Soje Jolon Chandrakirti Dane Kyabsuji Davin Jeso Jebe Sonam Je Rola Benji Sanje Jolon Sanje Jolon Soje Jolon Chandrakirti Dane Kyabsuji Davin Jeso Jebe Sonam Je Rola Benji Sanje Jolon Sanje Jolon Soje Jolon Chandrakirti Dane Kyabsuji Davin Jeso Jebe Sonam Je Rola Benji Sanje Jolon Sanje Jolon Soje Jolon Chandrakirti Dane Kyabsuji Davin Jeso Jebe Sonam Je Rola Benji Sanje Jolon Sanje Jolon Soje Jolon Chandrakirti Dane Kyabsuji Davin Jeso Jebe Sonam Je Rola Benji Sanje Jolon
I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain state of Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Sanje Jumden Jishela Neba, Yamanda Devalam Yama Vanita Simjatam Jela Siva Sala Shuba De and the Dom Sanje Jumden. Kushivan Yanda Vanamazu, Tabation, the Tomaki Padaki Batamaki. The handsome was in Razuma Mandeva Yozo Chan. Yanda Watoma Neme, but Tucheva Meba Yawata, but Diton and Tenyu, but Kevan Suzon and Yubacho. Jimden Jella wasn't the children one that about the Yavacho was always a good and Jovacho. Midima Major Devatan Temba Yuba, Tewachim again, and the Leverage was Rubacho, Timbachuba, Temaja, Juba, Charger, Juba, Sona Jepage, Years of Joachim, Jimenda Zujuba, Kundo, Jimenda Zujuba, Chembo, Hangi, over the Jono, when you do the Yishin and they get payment and a chance. So we are on page 410. So how arising through the dependence, how arising through dependent originations prevent distortions adhering to the extreme views. So dependent originations, I think
So I think this is kind of like saying that the word itself, dependent originations, dependence, that the word is, in the first word, negates independent, intrinsic, and the originations means something, in absence of independent, but it occurs by depending on something. Not intrinsic, but it occurs. So there is no, for example, like there is no color that independently exists, but it still happens. It exists. So the not independent, but still it existing. So this is the, it prevents the distortion of adhering to extreme views. So what else? Like not intrinsic. The word not intrinsic, emptiness. The word, there is no explicitly, kind of indications of something could be exist, something may exist. And something says, origination, simply the origination or something, condition. The word condition has not explicitly negation of, independent. So the dependent originations, this word, dependent, explicitly negate independent, and originations is something, yes, it is not independent, but it happens dependently. So that's why how arising through dependent origination prevents distortion of adhering to the extreme view. The question here, since you, the Madhyamika, have rejected arising from itself, from something others, from both, from no cause on the level of both truth, how then should one ascertain arising in the conventional sense? So, such as the volitions and consciousness from ignorance. Yeah, this. I mean, why they find it easy, instead of saying karma or the actions, they use the volitions. What in English? What exactly the volitions?
I mean, yeah, the kind of the desire, the drive. It looks like
It's closer to volcano.
the faculty or power of using one's will. That's what volition.
Faculty
or power of using one's will. So it's in English. There's more of a connotation of you're consciously, I'm going to do this out of my own volition. So it's more intentional.
Yeah, intentional. It is action, but intentional.
Not as much karma, where it seems like that's more
Maybe,
latent. Latent is the word.
I think it's more powerful than the action. Mm-hmm. No. So I think that's very good. The volition and consciousness from ignorance, that of a sprout from seed, and so on. So now saying that, it is, through inference, there is no such thing arises by itself, and such thing arises from other, or the both, or without a cause. So then, what sense in what condition, in what sense, so the conventional arising is. In what sense the conventional arising is. So there's arising is still there. So we say arising by itself is not possible, and arising from other is not possible, and without cause is not possible. And what condition, in what sense it arises. So, so seems like there is no really, there is no such thing arising as we imagine, as we picture that arising. But there's the kind of there's a how's that? But we cannot really against the language and the concept. So we have to shake hand with language and the concept in order to, otherwise there's nothing to say, right? Nothing to convince to others, nothing to explain. So if something that you want to explain, you want to let people to know, or there's some kind of language they use, and then for sure it's definitely, and it has to be, the arising, relatively arising must exist. To this we say, now this is the Chandrakirti's root text, because the entities do not arise from no cause, from cause such as Ishvara, Bhagavan, or from itself, from others, from both, they arise entirely through dependence. So that is the final, it says, this is not like, the East is not the, and yes, West is existing dependent upon East is existing dependent upon the West, but for sure, East is not arise from the West, West is not arise from the East. So the only existing for the West is, dependently, relatively, with is, there is the West. Relatively, with West, there is. That is the only way, something you can, present it to be existing. So because the entities do not arise in the manner described above, by itself, by others, both, or Ishvaras. So by themselves, from no cause, from cause such as Ishvara and so on, indicating from time, from individual atoms, from primary substance, from being, or from Narayanas. So now they say not only the four chronologics as rejected, and Ishvaras, the fifth one, is rejected, and not from the time, independent time, not from the invisible atoms, so not from primary substance. primary substance from being or from Narayanas. So the Vishnu or the Vasudeva Vishnu. So nor do they arise from self, from something others, or from both. This or that effect arises entirely through dependence on this and that cause and conditions. So the simple fact is rejections of arising from four extreme does not undercut everyday convention of cause and effect. Yeah, so I think in that view, sometimes you can think like how the sprout is arises from seed. Since the seed is right now become the sprout, how sprout is coming from seed. Seed is the sprout. How yogurt come from milk. Milk is right now yogurt. So how it can come from itself, you know. So and then again it says how the yogurt can come from the time of the seed, since the yogurt is not there in the time of the milk, you know. So same thing, if yogurt is never present or never exist or pre-exist during the milk, how can yogurt come from during that time? If not from that time, and then how, the yogurt is coming from the milk? So then says, yeah, because there was a time that is milk, and then it turned into yogurt. Therefore, you can imagine, once it was the milk, and then with some other condition, it turned into the yogurt. That yogurt arises from, while it was a milk, right? So can you say, and every day you're born from yourself? Without yesterday yourself, there's no today, yourself. So is your today yourself is born from yesterday yourself? And then it says, how can today yourself can born from yesterday yourself? Because the today is that the yesterday one, yesterday myself was right now in the today. So it seems like you can say the past is because it's the nature of the impermanence, past is going towards the future. How can present come back, coming from the past? So then, it's if the present can come from the past can go to the future, present can go to the future. If the future and the present can come from, and which means future and the present can go back to the past, because they can come from the past. So if you're coming from the, if you come from Los Angeles airport, you can still go back to the Los Angeles. If the seed sprout is coming from the time of the seed, why not it can go back to the time of the seed? So maybe, maybe the bicycle cannot return. So or the motorcycle cannot go backward. The car can go backward.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe body seat is like a motorcycle and the bicycle. So I think that in you, this kind of, when you analyze, when you think that, so in what really, in what manner or what sense that you can really understand, yes, this sprout is coming from the seed. Coming from the seed means, is it coming from the seed means, was it there and it is coming, or it is coming from the time of the past? Time of the seed, or it's not from the time of the seed, it's still coming from the seed. So without the time of the seed, how can sprout come from the seed? And the second says, it is not possible sprout is coming from the seed. Seed is going towards this sprout. So in this way, now the finally says, so we kind of, this arising of the sprout is depending upon the seed. Means, this is the sprout. Becoming sprout is depending upon once it was a seed, right? So if there is no time of that sprout in the past was a seed, and then this sprout is not possible. So there's some kind of true image of the different time, true image of the nature of that thing. So because of this image, is help you to construct. There's the relations. So that relation is not physically happen, but there is possible you can create these relations. When you can create these relations, yes, you can understand there is cause-effect relations. So that's why I said, rejections or arising from four extreme does not undercut everyday convention of cause and effect. So the conventionally and mundane understanding of the cause and effect is not going to reject it by rejecting four extreme. So the Buddha states, for example, here are the terms that refer to phenomena. It is thus, if this exists, that comes about. If tall exists, the short comes about. And if east exists, the west is coming about existence. And similarly, when there is south, there is a north. So this having a reasons that arises. So when this seed arises or arisen from their own seed, and then there is the sprout that arises from the, so time of it being seed. The condition by ignorance and the volitions arises. So condition in ignorance, when there's the ignorance, there's the volitions comes about. Right? When there's the volitions, there is the consciousness which carries the seed imprints that. When there's a consciousness that carrying the imprints of the seed, and there is the connection to the next element or next form. When there is the connections happen, there is new birth, new generations of the faculties. When there is the faculties, happen, there is the contact, consciousness, sense faculty, and object contact. When there is the contact of the consciousness and the faculty and the object, there is feeling. When there's the feeling, there's the craving. When there's the craving, there's the grasping. When there's the grasping, that feeling, craving, and grasping fertilize karma that you have already printed within the consciousness. So then that karma become now ready to give birth to another life. Right. So then when there is the birth by nature, there's the aging and death. So the precious Guardian stated, an example for this exists. That comes into being if there is long, there is short. An example for the arising because that has arisen the presence of the light because of the lamp. When this is the lamp, there is the light. And also the fundamental wisdoms, Mula Madhikarika, saying an agent depends upon object of act. Agent depends upon object of act. An object too originated only in dependence upon agent. So now, like for example, agent here is the seer, the agent, depends upon object of act of seeing. When there is seeing, act of seeing, there is one who is as a seer, So when there is act of listening, there is the listeners. So when there is the act of eating, there is the eaters. So the object too originated that, when there is eater, there is that originated the act of eating. When there is seer, there is the act of seeing. When there is the listener, there is the act of listening. So other than this, no cause of establishing the two can be observed. Other than that, in that relation, in that language, in that mere concept, yes, the seer and the seeing is two, right? So only in that relations you can find the seer and the seeing is a two, agent and actions. Other than that, there is no reason, there is no any perceptions can perceive. There's the agent and action are separate. So now saying that seer and the act of seeing and the seer as an agent and action is separated or distincted to separate phenomena is just because in that language, in the face of that language, just because in that concept. And other than that means, other than your eye, your smell, your touch, there is no seer in seeing. You cannot hold. There's no possible that you can witness. And the seer and the seeing is two separate phenomena. So this is not distinctive separate phenomena just in the relation to that language and concept. So, other than this, no cause of establishing the two can be observed, right? Other than that, you have no reason to explain the seer and the seeing is the two separate phenomena. So we should likewise understand appropriations, for it is, how to say, revealed to consist of object and agent. We should likewise understand appropriations, for it is revealed to consist of object and agent. Through this analysis of object and agent, understand all the remaining entity as well. So appropriations means what is the appropriations? Something that is appropriated as a conditional suffering. So then it says this, the five aggregates, the aggregates of the body, aggregates of the feeling, aggregates of the perceptions, aggregate of the discrimination awareness, the aggregates of the mental formations, is something that is appropriated. So this is appropriation. And once this is, you kind of establish this is the appropriation, then you have to find who is the appropriator. So the language, a kind of, the language of appropriations, language of the appropriations is the responsible to create the appropriator. Other than that, there is no appropriator. So, in Navijanas, there's one of the kind of exercise thing saying that if there is the person who is committing the karma to appropriate, next lives, the conditions aggregates, right? So this life person is, is a creator or agent who prepare for what is the next life, so that the next life's aggregates, the appropriations is designed and appropriated by the previous life, the persons. So now when the previous life is the person who is creating this is the one who gave you this condition of suffering. So hypothetically, if the creator of these appropriations and appropriations are two different things by nature, and when you have new aggregates in this life, and previous life person has to come, so to bring the condition. Yes, I'm going to give this to you. And this person, this aggregate, with this live person, with this aggregate says, thank you. So I take from Hazar. I take it from here. So then I'm going to create another condition of suffering. Then I have to bring that to the next live person. Say, this is what I did. All my registers is here. Mm-hmm. So there is no such thing is really possible. So if this is how, if this is how it happened, then the three times got mixed together. Because the past is coming to the present, and present is going to the futures as a present, and then there is the coexisting of the future and the present and the past. So when there is no past life person, is coming to the present life and meeting the present life person, right? And then how, and in what sense the previous life is the one of the agent who appropriate this condition of suffering. So then said, this is like, when you have a milk and that, you just kind of like boil the water and then let it kind of cool down a little bit, and you add some kind of substance in there, and then you keep it wrapped with a cloth, and tomorrow you will have a yogurt. So, so that is the nature of the impermanence. It can turn into something else. So in this way, the previous life and the ignorance and the karma and the delusions, the engage in a certain way or the positive positive action or the negative actions, then naturally it will turn into, as you committed, as you acted, you become that thing. Right? There is no the agent and actions as a separate. One is giving to the others. Is it clear? So now, the point is this: the agent and the actions is separated phenomena is only in the language. So this is called mere conditionedness. Only because of the language. Like seer and the seeing is a two separate phenomena, and not, there is the seer which is by itself separate from the seeing. There is no act of seeing by itself separate from the, seer. So seer and the seeing is the distincted two separate phenomena just because of the language, just because of the concept. Their existing of the separate phenomena or single unit or separate single unit is just to that thought and mental projections. So we should likewise understand appropriation, for it is the revealed to consist of the object and agent. Through this analysis, the object and agents understands all remaining entities as well. So the everything, like agent and actions, cannot be substantial, cannot be, intrinsically exist. So they're existing in just, only in the conditions, only in the condition or only with relation to the language and thought. So this is why I said sometimes we say mere name, mere thought. So another word is they use the mere conditionedness. So in English translations, the mere conditionedness. In Tibetan, it says kinyin devasams. So I think every kind of, whoever's studying this Tibetan text, they kind of say that, oh, kinyin devasam, kinyin devasam. But, the word is not really giving you the full meaning. What does that mean? Mere conditionedness, kinyin devasams. What does that mean? So, kinyin devasams, deva is, this is, that is, that kind of the concept and the language. If things exist just for that, the condition of this and that language. So that's the mere conditionedness. So, yes, you can say East is separate from the West, West is separate from the East, East is not West, West is not East. And there are separations. How does their separation exists? So then it says it is not really, proven to be existing, as a separate phenomena by eye consciousness, not the touch. So then it says mere conditions of this is East, that is West. Yeah. So only this much is stated, nothing about arising from any of four extremes. So just as the Buddha taught, arising of mere conditionedness. Yeah, I think in the Tibetan language, they use more kind of, even with the gestures. Ge ni means mere condition. And what is that? There is something, This is seer, that is act of seeing. This is act, this is agent. So just in that condition. So the Noble Nagarjuna did the same. In particular, since Nagarjuna upholds the view of dependent originations in terms of the mutual dependence, the agent being dependent upon object of act, and so on, he used the phrase other than this, thus distinguishing his own from others' view of arising. He stated that this understanding should be extended to all entity that could possibly exist. So in this way, cause and condition, agent and actions, and the person and his mind, his thought. So when you think the person and him and his mind, him and his body, him and his feeling. So that kind of the separated, distincted two phenomena is not just because of there is something true. It just is conceptually and a distincted two separate phenomena. So their separation is merely exists with that language. So the only if someone says, for example, when someone, how is that? Yeah, so like when the doctor says if you have a diabetes and you should not be eating the rice and sugar, and we ask why, and then he would say, here the rice has this things, So now me and my thought, I am saying it, I am imagining me and my is separate. And when I say it to the others, they also, have the same image of me, image like me. So they think, oh, you and your mind, you and your feeling, or me and my feeling, me and my body. So two separate. So the both of we, never really try to, prove to the mind, yes, there is me and my. So, me above here and mine is there. Or me is on the top of the sky and mine is there. So we never really, feel like this has to be proof. So which means presumably we always kind of believe in these two separate phenomena. So now the question is, if really someone comes, says, you keep saying that me and my body, me and my nose, me and my feeling, me and my thought, so it kind of very obviously you are totally, convinced there is me and my body is two separate. So then say, prove me. So there is, only you can prove is, yes, with this language, I can see the separate. Me and my body is separate. Just for that language, with relation to that language, I'm saying me and my body is separate. Me and my feeling is, two separate phenomena. Because the separation is distincted by the language and the thought. So its existing of the separation is also belongs to that subject. Other than that, it not belongs to the eye consciousness, the nose consciousness, even not the touch. You cannot really, feel the touch of their separate, right? And not only that we separate, if something is not substantially there is no separate, but we presume they are separate. And with that, we also use empty of the sky. So we also conceptually separating the empty and the sky as a true thing. So this is called that kind of object, that kind of object or kind of reality. You and me and my body are separate. Me and my feeling is separate. So there is me separate from the feeling. Is the reality that is merely exist with relation to the language that expresses my body. So the noble Nagarjuna did the same. In particular, so Nagarjuna uphold the view of dependent originations in terms of the mutually dependence. The mutual dependence, the agent being dependent on the object of act. So now mutually, when the flower, put in the pot, the flower is depending on the pot. Pot is not depending on the flower, right? Standing of the pot is not depending on the flower. Flower is depending on that. Now here, me and my body is mutually depending. When there is my body, which means, without me, there's no my body. There is my body, therefore, there is me exist. When me exists, there's some kind of mind is there. Without mind, there's no me. So this me and mind is like is and west. So you cannot find which comes first. They are also not different. So they are conceptually distinct two separate phenomena, like exactly the East and West. So when you keep thinking, it's so many, in many ways, into, complex of this dependent originations, through many ways, many reasons, and they're saying now you are going to make the whole in samsara. Samsara becomes questionable. Samsara is shaking now.
Kishala, that example you gave with the flower depending upon the pot, but the pot not depending on the flower, that's just an example of that's
It's substantially dependent.
Right.
So because two independent can be dependent for a moment,
right.
for a while. So that the flower is independent from the pot, pot is independent from the flower, but flower can depend on the pot. The bird is independent from the tree is independent from the bird, but temporarily, bird can depend on the branches of the tree, like monkey and the tree.
Right.
So now here, me and seer and the seeing is not like a monkey and the tree.
Right.
So they could not stand without each other. So the monkey left, tree still there.
So is the Prasangika saying that type of dependent origination is acceptable conventionally? That the pot does not depend on the flower? That from a conventional sense, yes, they are like that.
Yeah.
But in an ultimate sense, no?
So there, yes, dependence, yes, the seer and the seeing is, the existing of the seer is dependent on the seeing. Act of seeing is dependent on the seer.
Right.
So now that's mutually depending. Mutually depending. Now saying that, so are there two different phenomena?
Okay.
And then said no.
Okay.
They're not two different phenomena.
It's an example.
Yeah. They're not two different phenomena. These two are not like a monkey in the tree. These two are not like flower in the pot. And then says, and how there's a two? So then is a conceptually distincted two separate. It's not because of the, act of seeing, act of seeing is, act of seeing is different from seer. Seer is not a number two with act of seeing. So when you have table and the chairs, you say if you count from the table, the chair is number two. If you count from the chair, table is number two. So there, seer and seeing cannot be two from the seer. The seeing is not number two from the seer because they are not separate by themselves. For example, if I said, oh, the bread, the taste of the bread and the textures of the bread. When I say taste of the bread, the texture of the bread means automatically you have known this two separate phenomena. So now say, if this is the two, the textures of the bread by itself, separate from the taste of the bread, If the taste of the bread is by itself, separate from the texture of the bread, then you have to, find them and separate from the location. So when there is no locations, the taste, this is the taste, this is not the textures. This is the textures, this is not the taste. So when there is nothing from the base, and why you think the taste of the bread and the texture of the bread is true, then we say it true because with relation to the eye, with relation to this, body feeling. This eye and the body is a true sense faculty. So with relation to true sense faculty, I say it's true. Not because it is from the bread side. So that is called, then with relation to, relatively you just say something. It is not real. There is no two real separate textures and the taste of the bread. Right? So, but this can be appear to the mind, it can be known to the mind as a two separate phenomena only, just because of with relation to the two sense faculty, two different sense faculty. This is like, for example, we say, normally we say daughter and wife, daughter and wife, it seems to be two separate. So when it comes to pointing at one female, so she is the daughter, she is the wife, and so that become, she can be two, is with relation to her husband and her mother. She can be separated. So does that mean we kind of slice her into two? No. So that's, the conventionally existing is not really, how is that? Yeah, it's not really easy, understanding. So far, this is the most easier as an ordinary being. For the mundane, this is the conventional existing is most easiest, most obvious. So when you use this kind of logic, and everything seems to be deflating, and then you have hard time to prove that is existing. Sometimes some say 2 + 2 is 4. That's true all the time. About $200 bill, plus $200 bills is not a 4. It's a 400, right? So the kind of sometimes people think that the number is the kind of ultimate answer. So, so this is the kind of saying seer and seeing, listener and listeners, me and my body as a two separate. The bread, and their color, smell, taste, textures, and the table and its legs, tables and its top. There's so many things. So this whole idea that it's just kind of what do you call So we kind of accept very unknowingly, right? Too casually, right? So we, many things that you just like table in its top when you said, yeah, you thought there is table and its top. There's the table and its legs. There is the computer in it, it colors, computers in its images. So all of them is with the language. We are, proliferating the basis and the characters, composed it in the components, too many things. So then we could not really understand this is how we project it. So now we have to understand as you project, you also know these are the projections, So there is some kind of, truth beyond that projections. Yeah. So understanding should be extended to all entities that could be possibly exist. These masters, therefore, spoke of the need to posit arising in general. So spoke of the need to posit arising in generals. So now you have to find a way to convince yourself, yes, generally there is arising. So there is no arising by itself, not from others, not from both, not from the no cause, not from the Ishvara. But you have this finally you have to come up. So generally, yes, undeniably, there's the arising. Because their things are always changing, their characters, their aspects, everything is changing. So everything is happening, changing before you. You cannot deny that. No. And how, since arising from four extremes remains untenable, this implies that things arises through dependence. Nagarjuna established this point through numerous strategies, right? So those who assert contrary to the standpoint of this tradition, if things do not arise from any of the four extremes, there is no arising at all, are doing good job of the defining through stench, right? Stench of their false conceptualizations. It make it diluting or smelly, right? Conceptualizations, unexcelled traditions in which the meaning of the profound dependent originations, the unrivaled proof to realize emptiness, emerges in terms of the meaning of the emptiness. This is what we should know. So this is the most difficult part, in Prasangika school. You have thousands, you use thousands reasonings, exercise and the contemplating that. And from those, each of the thousand reasons, there is no proof of anything that exists by themselves. But you now say that you are just keep negating, refuting, creating the space. And there's something you have to be, finally land back. You have to land in the conventional reality. So that is, the landing is more difficult part, you know. so, so gliding is easier. So the land means now this, finally you have to, convince the mind, don't get against what language has projected. Don't go against that. You know. So now the question is, if someone's, when you understand this, all the negations, refutations, and you try not to get against the language and concept, and then if your mind says, why not? I should against, because all these language creations are lie. And then said, that is the lie. That is the, when you know it is lie, it is no more lying to you. So why you should, against that? When this is the lie, but it's no longer lying to you, and you can find a way to benefit through that. So Nagarjuna's text, I say, Mula Madhyakarika, I think chapter 13 from the beginnings, Kedu Lushu Panyama, Tezuntama, Chishilu. Lushu means deceptive lie, So if, once you realize this is the deceptive, the nature of that existing, deceptive and lie, and how can it start? How can it lie again to you? So it's not being deceiving you, lie which is not deceiving you, not harming you, not confusing you. So it is just like other reality. So that if you find this, and then says, you can fly in the space, you can land on a conventional reality. And sometimes the Chandrakiti, sometimes you use, now you fly in endless space by using two wings of the conventional ultimate. So you have no problem of falling, you are no problem of, limitless, lifted and disappearing in space. So Chandrakirti was a very, very great scholar, and there's most of his poems very, very unique. So,
and Chandrakirti said that you can fly through endless space on the wings of conventional. And, okay.
So without being disappearing in the space, without falling in the nihilisms, and with two wings of the conventional and the ultimate, then you cross to the ocean of samsara and reach the enlightened kingdom. So thus, when the dependent originations of the mere conditionedness is propound, right? Not only does arising from four possibilities such as no cause, become impossible, it is also revealed that impossibility of object conceived in terms of such as the eternalist view. So the four chronologics is eternalist view that reifies intrinsic existence. The nihilist view that makes everyday operations of cause and effect untenable. The permanence in the sense of something that exists at an earlier, temporal stage, persisting as subsequent temporal stage. So eternalism means, for example, if things arise by itself, which means it's eternalism, eternalist existing. So then that the sprout is existing by itself, then by itself come from the seed, by itself existing within the seed, by itself existing before the seed. So it's then by itself remain forever in the future. So if any kind of sprout that exists by itself, then is a kind of hypothetically, so it always remain from the temporal stage and early temporal stage to the subsequent temporal stage. So like Atma, people think the Atma is eternalist because they think from the beginningless and from the endless. It will never die. But they don't really say, they only can say, they are very proudly say, the Atma never dies. That they could not say, Atma never gets sick. Atma never get old. So if someone going to hospital, is your Atma getting sick? so yourself is not getting sick, but why you come here? So they always says, when you get sick, I am sick. They don't say, oh, I'm eternal, I don't get sick, but I'm just bring my body to you. So therefore, about the death, they says, oh, it never dies. Then if it never dies, you also have to say it never gets sick, it never get old, never get hungry, never get thirsty, never need, any clothing, never need house. So then all the Atma people, so you just, put in another land, says you don't need anything. Maybe they will say, but our body needs, so we come back. So the eternalist, if something that arises by itself, then forever it should be, remain like that. So nihilistic is the, denying the cause and effect. So momentariness and intrinsically exists, persisting the subsequent instance, and the essential existing, the absence of entities and non-entities to present this. So impermanence, now they're saying, previously they says eternalness is something that is existing, eternalness, then it should be exist forever. Wherever it is like, it should be remain like that. So that is not possible because everything is impermanence. in the sense of momentariness, with, in the sense of momentariness with intrinsically existing, persisting the subsequent instance. If someone thinks, things are impermanent, but it is intrinsic, again, it falls back to the eternalisms, So if something there is the impermanent, therefore there's the continuity, therefore is the continuously existing, then again is that permanent. To present this, we say, in that things originate entirely through dependence, such concepts as the self arising cannot withstand analyze. So arising by itself, arising from others, both, or arising from no cause, arising from the Ishvara, as well arising from the atoms and the particles, whatever you say, when you use the logic in the reasoning, it cannot stand analysis. So this reasoning of the dependent originations rips to shred, right? The entire matrix of false views. So, in that, on the basis of this reasoning alone, things originate entirely through dependence from this cause, and that effect arises. From this cause, that effect arises. That conventional realities obtain their status as existent and non-existence through some other means. Such concept as arising from self and others and so on cannot stand analysis. So this reasoning of the dependent originations through mere conditionedness. So mere conditionedness rips to the shred of the entire matrix of the false views, such as those views, such as those that view things in terms of arising from itself, from other, and so on, defined, as defined above. The Madhyamika, which points mere conditionedness as the meaning of the dependent originations, does not assert intrinsic existence in relation to anything. So, and I think this is another way of saying the Nagarjuna's Chandrakiti is saying that, why we say the mere conditionedness. So why we say mere conditionedness, the relation of the cause and effect, relation of the barley seed and sprout, the relation of the you in your body, relation of the bread and their color, smell, taste, and textures. All these are, we say, it's a conventional. The conventional means, it's just mere, existing, as you imagine, with relation to the language and the concept. So that is what we mean, the mere conditions. And why we just, concluding that existing is in the mere condition, because other than the mere conditions, and then what you have to say, if you're not accepting mere conditions, then either you have to say things arise by itself, or things arise from the others, from the both, without cause. Things arise from the Ishvara, things arising from the independent time. In all of them, melted when there is, when it stand with analysis. They could not stand with analysis. So this is the kind of like sometimes like is the no option word. There's no another option. There's no another option other than the mere conditionless. So 60 stanzas of the reasoning says that which has originated due to this and that has not done so through its own essence. So which has originated due to this and that. This is the at, this is the is, this is the that, this is short and this is tall, this is the cause and this is the effect. So this is the favorable, this is unfavorable. So through its own, not done so through its own essence. So otherwise, first we build East and take for months and years to build the West. So now we have to build the West. Now we're going to build South. And then it will, So then probably, it is not possible like when you're facing the east, everything is in the face, east, right? When you face the west, before you see is the east, now you are seeing west, everything. So it is not possible because the east and west is too independent. Yeah, if is the east and west is like substantial, then some some countries may have built very long east and very long west. Some small countries even they could not build the west. Just they're trying to build east. So through essence, and how can that which has not arisen through its own essence be called arisen? So that's the ayah they were saying. How can the sprout not arising by itself, not arising from other, not arising from the both, not arising from the no cause, not Ishvara. So in what sense that you can think this sprout has arisen? So it is two, when this is the question, when this is the question mark, then it says in what sense it can arise from its own essence. Not from by itself, not by itself, not from other, not from both, not without a cause. And how this sprout can arise by its own nature, by its own essence. That question. And what question is, how can it is arisen? How can it is called arisen? So then it says, just in the mere condition, other than that, in the mere conditionless, other than that, how can we call it arisen? So which means, just in that, we call it maybe the fabric of the conditionedness, the fabric of the language and the mental construct. Other than that, how can we call it a reason? So which means you're accepting is a reason. As Nagarjuna explains, that which has arisen through the dependence has not arisen through its own essence. And so he asked, how can one say that a sprout and so on has arisen through its own essence? The question is like, how it arising intrinsically. In the Fundamental Wisdoms 2, Nagarjuna explained that there are empty of intrinsic existing for the very reason that they are dependently originated. So Nagarjuna's, I always mix this there. Chapter 18 and 24 at the end. There's the purpose of the emptiness, nature of the emptiness, the meaning of the emptiness. So Narayana says, emptiness, therefore, is the dependent arisings. Dependent arising, therefore, it is empty or intrinsic. It's the same meaning. Reason that are dependently originated. So that which is dependently originated, that which is dependently originated, this has been declared emptiness. This too is designated as a cause. As cause, and this is middle way. So now they say, Umelam, the middle ways, free from two extremes, say not intrinsic, not intrinsic because it's originated. Dependent originated. It is conditioned, therefore, you are free from the two extreme. So sometimes Nagarjuna's in the Prasangika school, there's one, language, depending on how you use the language. If you only use condition, referring to the things that born from the cosmic conditions. In this language, you can use that way, like cause and effects, the condition. And sometimes we use, I condition with my emotional, so now I see my friend, image of my friend is unfavorable, right? So my favorite flower looks like, not that good. So the condition is here, like this is when you're projecting. Your projection is, emotionally conditioned. So the two kind of, the meaning, the condition to your mind. One, barley seed has conditioned the barley sprout. Soil and water is conditioned because they kind of, they cooperate. Soil, water, seed, all physically contact, meet, associating, and collaborating, and then something happens. Is the one of the condition. So one of the condition is, we create something that is conditions. We construct something, so that is construct is the condition. So. So in that, the kind of, if you use this kind of word, like, the intrinsic means is something intrinsic is the opposite of condition. Something is intrinsic, therefore no need to condition. There's something that is intrinsic, therefore there's no need to cause. Right? Then there's no need to produce. Then there's no need to create. So intrinsic is opposite of condition, cause, creation. So the intrinsic become unconditioned, no cause, uncreated. So therefore is same as by nature. So in the Sutras 2, Sutra 2, it says, whatever has arisen from condition is unborn. So whatever has arisen from condition means anything that comes from from condition is unborn by itself, from both, no cause. It does not have the nature of arising. Anything that arising, the effect by itself has no nature, to come from. The presence by itself has no nature of having coming from the past. The past is by nature of itself can go to the present. Right? Presence by nature, by itself, not going to the futures. Future is not by nature, it is not coming from the present or the past. And then there's by nature, there's nothing. And why we say, because something is, something from the past, I'm here. Or I'm here, therefore I'm going to the futures. So that is called conventional. Yeah. That's not the nature of arisings. That which depends on condition, I declare empty. So the Buddha says, why I keep saying the emptiness, empty. So because, the word emptiness and mind, when the word express emptiness, what I am thinking in my mind, what's in my mind is dependent arising. One who understands emptiness is at ease. Panyeshin is like ease, I don't know. Payuba. Because it puts you in the positions, and always seeing the positive, no negative. So that's why it's Payue. And sometimes people use Payue, translate in heedful, careful. Yeah, any other questions? No. No questions? Okay. Sanju Simjo Rinpoche, Majebana, Jejuji, Gebanya, Bamebanya, Konde Pebbles, Sonye Tawa Rinpoche, Majebana, Jejuji, Gebanya, Bamebanya, Konde Pebbles, Pama Simjen Tamje, Deda, Denjuji, Rotamje, Tato, Tonwa, Sanju Simba Kana, Sushu, Deda Gunja, Molum Drujuji,
Karera Yoko Vision, Panda the Woman, Jovenet, Jerez and what in the Jazu Yishabe, Sede Badu, Tenuchi.
May the precious body mind not yet born horizon grow. May the point of no decline but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born horizon grow. May the point of no decline but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness, and may all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakiti Gyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you, thank you.